is considering executive action to raise taxes, bypassing Congress, issuing a decree, taxes are going up. Listen to White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest.
The president has asked his team to examine the array of executive authorities that are available to him to try to make progress on his goal. So I'm not in a position to talk about any of those in any detail at this point, but the president is very interested in this avenue generally.
Okay, now, did you hear that? The president is very interested in this avenue generally. Liz, do you think he's going to do it?
He could do it. Yes, he could. And it would, wow, this would really be stepping outside the powers, the separation of powers clause set down in the Constitution. Bernie Sanders sent a letter saying, President Obama, you could raise $100 billion by shutting corporate loopholes, and you could do it via Treasury regulations. In other words, you have the IRS by fiat shutting these loopholes via their regulatory powers. Remember, the IRS does a lot of rulemaking.
Yep.
And so, you know, that already came up when U.S. companies wanted to move their headquarters overseas. That debate came up, the discussion came up at the White House that, yes, they could force the IRS to shut that down via regulation.
So you think that they might do it? Judge Napolitano is with us, fresh from his lunch with me yesterday. He's broke these days. Now then, in all seriousness, what they are thinking of doing is tweaking the IRS rules.
Yes.
Not raising tax rates by fiat.
Yes. So as to increase the tax burdens on corporations, forgetting that those taxes will be paid by shareholders or customers. Would it be
constitutionally legit to do that?
Absolutely not.
By squeezing the rules.
Because the people who are paying those taxes elected a Congress that they expect will be writing tax laws and not a president. This is a lone wolf president who has no regard for the limitations on his office. He's in the death throes of his term in office, and he's desperate about being irrelevant, and he's frustrated against a conservative Republican Congress.
And you think he'll do it?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. The New York Times, I repeat, the New York Times is reporting that Hillary Clinton used a personal email account to conduct official State Department business while she was the Secretary of State. That is against the rules. So much for transparency. Roll tape.
I believe in transparency. I believe in taking responsibility, and I have done so. What difference at this point does it make?
Okay, now that was a juxtaposition of two sound bites,
right.
One referring to transparency and one referring to Benghazi. Perhaps we were cheating with the Benghazi bite right there. Okay.
Well, you're being honest about the cheating, if I may.
Right. Is that legit? To use a private email personal account instead? She never had an email account from the State Department.
Yes, it is now obvious that from the day she was confirmed as Secretary of State, she reserved the domain name that she used.
Yes, the very day she was confirmed by the Senate.
Correct. It is a violation of the Federal Records Act, which is not a criminal statute, but it's a statute that declares that the documents and information exchanged by high-level government officials belongs to the government and not those individuals. And if those individuals take those documents digitally or actually and transfer them somewhere else, they have an obligation to return them. Guess what? It may be impossible for her to return her emails because emails reside forever on the server or in the cloud of the server once they're put there. So that's problem number one with her. Problem number two is far more serious. As Prime Minister Netanyahu was speaking to the Congress of the United States and the American people, the Justice Department made an ominous revelation that David Petraeus would plead guilty to one count of unlawful dissemination of classified documents on his personal email account to his then girlfriend.
That happened an hour ago.
Yes.
Just an hour ago.
Yes. It was buried by Prime Minister Netanyahu's brilliant and compelling speech. I can't imagine that this was a coincidence, that this was announced while he was speaking. Nevertheless, the question is, did Secretary Clinton, on her personal email account, examine classified information? Like, say, for example, the plans to kill Osama bin Laden.
Right.
And if she did, she transported into a non-classified site classified materials. That is arguably the same crime for which the great General Petraeus has just pleaded guilty.
Wow, that's a revelation.
Well,
I did not know about the Petraeus thing that happened.
But in her defense, Secretary of State Colin Powell did use his personal email account while he was Secretary of State, and the rules were tightened. You cannot have government information on a private sector email, such as BlackBerry, which is known to be secure. So it raises all sorts of other issues about hacking, about espionage into the private sector servers.
EMAC is correct. The government accounts are far more secure. And her defense is that all of her predecessors did it, which under the law is no defense at all. That's a political defense, not a legal defense.
Now, as I understand it, she turned over, is it 55,000 pages?
But she cannot pick and choose which to turn over. She has to turn over everything and somehow destroy the stuff.
Do we know
Ask Lois Lerner how to destroy a server. Somehow destroy the stuff from where it originally was reposed. I don't know how you can do that.
But we don't know whether 55,000 pages is everything. We don't know that.
Well, we believe that Philippe Raines and Cheryl Mills, her two longtime and very astute, very intelligent personal aides, have been going through the emails. Under the law, they are not permitted to do that. That is the property of the government. That is not for Mrs. Clinton to pick and choose which she's going to reveal and which she's going to retain.
May I sum it up and say Hillary Clinton has another big problem?
Yes, she does. And this one not caused by her husband.
Especially with the Clinton Foundation raising money from foreign governments like
While
Qatar
she was Secretary
and the
of
UAE.
State.
Yeah, that too. And also $6 billion in taxpayer money vanished to private contractors on her watch as Secretary of State, according to the IG of the State Department.
We've had the Netanyahu speech. We've had the Petraeus revelation moments ago from you, Judge, and thank you very much indeed. We've had the executive authority going around Congress to maybe raise taxes. What am I missing? Hillary Clinton on the emails.
And she's about to announce her candidacy, apparently, right?
It's a very full news day, and we're glad, ladies and gentlemen, that you are with us to go through it. And especially glad for the Judge and Liz. Glad to be here.
Happy to be here.